Welcome inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for press coverage. Dan Hope joined by Andy Anders as Ohio State gets ready for its biggest game of the season to date, a game that very much could determine whether or not Ohio State has a chance to go to the Big Ten championship game this year, as Ohio State and Penn State both unbeaten this year, both ranked in the top 10 in the country going into this Saturday's game at Ohio Stadium. It certainly feels like a big game week, doesn't it, Andy?
Oh, it certainly does. I would say the biggest so far this season, even with Notre Dame. That was obviously a top 10 showdown on the road, but this is in the conference, right? If Ohio State is to control its own destiny and to make the Big Ten championship game, by proxy the college football playoff, they have to win this game. Otherwise, it comes out of their control. And then you'd obviously have to beat Michigan. But they talked about, too, how that Notre Dame game, which was obviously a big game, and the Penn State game are two entirely different games. And I think that's kind of exemplified by you have two very different opponents, and looking at the talent that Penn State has on defense, I think that was also a big topic of conversation today.
Now, of course, the big question right now is Ohio State's health going into Saturday's game, and we really didn't get any concrete answers on that. Ryan Day was asked about Travion, Emeka, Mayan, Denzel, but basically just gave a general answer that we hope that they'll be available on Saturday. So I don't think you can really read a whole lot into that. I think, there's a chance any of those guys could play Saturday, but the reality is we're probably not going to get a firm answer until that status report comes out at 10 a.m. Saturday morning.
It's true, but if those guys are out, we saw some people that could fill in admirably for them. I think in that Purdue game, starting at running back, you had Dallan Hayden, 11 carries for 76 yards, really provided a bit of a spark when he was in there. I know Purdue's run defense a little shaky on the year, but it has also kind of thrown his redshirt status up in the air.
Yeah, I think you could certainly watch the way Dallan Hayden played against Purdue, and you can make a strong case that redshirting him is not the right move. But he just seems every time he gets in there, he gives them a spark. They got something going with him out there, and so I think they should certainly strongly consider continuing to play him this season. Of course, some of that is going to depend, at least for this week, on whether Travion, Chip, and Mayan, how many of any of them are ready to go, and we'll see how that plays out on Saturday. Certainly another big personnel question is at that cornerback spot where Denzel Burke has been such a key to this defense this year. If he can't go, Davison Igbinosun and Jordan Hancock will likely be the starters, but we'll also likely see a healthy dose of Jermaine Mathews, with Jordan Hancock moving inside in some situations to play that slot corner role.
Right, whenever he moves into the slot corner, Jermaine was the go-to option against Purdue, and from what Noel said today, I expect that to change at all. And Jermaine showed you some really good things in that game, looked strong in coverage on some plays, had a really nice kickoff tackle on a kickoff rather. He's a guy that has a different speed, physicality, and as Jim Knowles said 3 different times in today's press conference, moxie. And so it's someone that, despite him being a true freshman, the staff has a confidence in to deliver even in a big spot like this week on Saturday.
You'd certainly like to see Emeka Egbuka back on the field this week. This is a Penn State defense that currently ranks in the top 3 in the country in both points and yards allowed per game. And so they're going to need everything they can get from their offense on Saturday to have a chance to score a good number of points. But, at least at that wide receiver position, we know they have depth, and we saw some of those guys step up, whether it be Xavier Johnson playing his versatile role, Carnell Tate making some big plays. I don't know how much they'd want to play Brandon Inniss in a game like this, but we saw his potential with that 58-yard touchdown catch. So we know they have options there, guys who can make plays even if Emeka can't go, but certainly Emeka is a guy that would help them a lot against a defense that's going to really challenge this Ohio State offense. Ohio State versus Penn State at Ohio Stadium on Saturday, noon game. We will have coverage all week long on 11warriors.com leading up to Saturday's game. So stay tuned, and we'll be back for more.